cat sometimes jumping on me. I have no control over it.
It's so funny because, yeah, I'm visiting my family up in Colorado, and my son yesterday, I was interviewing Cassandra and Kim and Destiny, and like my son just kept popping up. I'm like, this is so unprofessional, but at the same time, it's like this whole thing is about a woman's event and the struggles that, a lot of parents and women have to go through.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is a reality. Like, yeah. So anyway, we are officially recording. My name is McLean Warren, owner of Liaison Marketing. And I am here with my co-host, Brendan Fields, who owns Rebate, along with some companies on Amazon. And I am also here with these two wonderful, wonderful women that I will allow you guys the platform to talk about yourselves and give us a little information about what you do and maybe even like how you got to where you are now. I'll let Jana go first.
So thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Really excited to talk to you actually, first time, like on Zoom, but I mean, I've talked to him before, but it was on Facebook. So my name is Jana or Jana or however you guys want it. And I am the owner of Wild Tea Translations. We are an Amazon dedicated translation agency, and we help sellers expand to international marketplaces.
Awesome. And how did you come to this point?
Well, I was working in a very big Danish e-commerce. Like I was there right from like when they were just a startup. There was like four of us, and then they grew into like this multi-billion-dollar company. Like they were selling across 15 different marketplaces, and I was their chief operations officer, and I had like 400 people like to be in charge of. And so I learned a lot of e-commerce basically from there, like how to do it like from scratch. And they also went into Amazon. This was like 10 years ago, so like this is the first time when I heard like what's a buy box and how to win a buy box. And so that was very interesting, and I was also very interested in the Amazon project, and I decided to get involved in that. And then as they were doing the international marketplaces, we were just doing machine translations. And I'm a translator myself. I have a bachelor's and master's in 5 different languages and literature. And I was really passionate about languages and everything. And I just thought that we should hire regular translators who didn't know anything about Amazon back at the time for this company I used to work for. And we started getting some better results. And then after that, I was like, well, we should use some keywords. And like basically like sales skyrocketed. And shortly after that, I decided to quit my job and start something on my own. And I just bought a domain name, and I'm just gonna do the Wild Tea Translations thing. And first we did like e-commerce and Amazon as well, but then as more and more requests came into Amazon, I decided to make a niche down and make like completely like a Amazon related agency. We still do a lot of different e-commerce translations, but now we're mostly focused on Amazon sellers. And that actually turned out to be a very good decision to niche down. And today I have a team of 60 people, and we're doing pretty well, I'd say. So yes, I'm really happy I could do something I'm passionate about, like both e-commerce and languages as well.
How many Amazon platforms are you not invested, but that you work with?
So we work like on all international marketplaces, like of Amazon, which means basically everything in Europe, including Sweden and Poland and Czech Republic as well, which has not been launched yet, but will probably happen this year. And also from like international, like worldwide marketplaces, we do Japan, Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and UAE.
Wow. So you're like not that smart.
No, I don't do anything. I have a big team. And actually I just like I work on my tan. I'm a proper blonde.
You're like, I'm here to look pretty. That's all I do.
I just try hard.
I mean, I can't even master the American language. So for you to be able to speak 5 is absolutely unbelievable. Sharon, you're up.
Hi guys. Yeah, and I didn't know that you speak 5 languages. That's insane. I just really wanted to ask before I even speak, what languages?
Well, I speak German, French, Norwegian, Danish, English, and Serbian, which is my native tongue. So
That's just freaking amazing. I only speak 2, and yeah, that's so cool. Me, I am Sharon Evan, and I am an Amazon seller. I started selling in e-commerce when I was 15. So my first ever product that I had, which was on trademe.co.nz, which is basically, I guess, kind of like the eBay of New Zealand, it was sunglasses. And I left home when I was 15. So it was the same year that I left home. And yeah, and then sort of the rest is history. I've done quite a bit of e-commerce, I'd say my entire adult life. And I only discovered Amazon in 2016. I don't know why I didn't know it before, but I did. And yeah, and then before Amazon, I also had my own online store in Israel, which is a clothing store. And in 2019, I also decided when I moved, so I live in Israel, I come from New Zealand. And when I moved to Israel, I was a little bit lost. I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do. And I went and learned how to do makeup. A lot of people don't know this. That's why I'm such a talented makeup artist, because I actually studied it years ago. And, anyway, hated it to bits. But I really went to study because I'd always dreamt of being a makeup YouTuber. No one really, I mean, some people know this, but not many. And then I realized that I don't have thick enough skin at the time. We're talking about 5 years ago. I would have been no, more than that, like 7 years ago, I would have been like 25, maybe younger.
Do you mean like literally thick enough skin, or is that like a metaphor for you handling?
No, because there's a lot of trolls online. Like literally, like being able to deal with trolls, and it's not the difference between, because I have trolls today as well, because we'll get to what I do in a second, but it's different trolls when it's about your looks, right? It's a totally different thing. And I realized that I wasn't probably in a place in my life and it was the right decision as well. But out of that, instead, I started my clothing store. And the same year I started my clothing store, my brother passed away. And it was a really, really tough year. And the store basically tanked. And that's also a couple of months later is when I started Amazon. So in 2019, I decided to start my YouTube channel for Amazon sellers with no business plan. I didn't really know that I could turn it into, another business. It was just sort of me, really just that little girl that had always wanted. Now this is news. No one knows this about me. So it's released here. I was in drama class.
Insider look.
Yeah. I was in drama class as a little girl. I'd always dreamt to either be an actress or a singer. I don't know if anyone ever watched I once posted one of me singing. So I wanted to be a singer. So I'd always wanted to be sort of on the front line. And that was how I started YouTube. It wasn't because I necessarily, thought that it would turn out. And then people wanted coaching and things like that. I'm telling this story because of my subject on Branded by Women.
Right.
And then it ended up turning into a 6-figure coaching business as well. And the reason I'm talking about that is because on Branded by Women, I'm talking about how Amazon isn't necessarily for everyone, but it is for me. I still sell on Amazon. We're still on Amazon, but I did find fulfillment that I necessarily didn't know that I didn't feel until I started working with people and helping people. Mm-hmm. And on Branded by Women, Danny wouldn't let me speak about anything I feel comfortable talking about, which is product research or PPC. And he made me talk about something else. And I had to think, what am I going to talk about? And then I was thinking, as e-commerce grows, so does the need for service providers. So all of us here offer some sort of service. And there's many, many people who are successful Amazon sellers who offer, a service. But on top of that, you don't necessarily have to sell on Amazon to be able to be in digital or be in the e-commerce field. You can, like Jana, doing translation and managing these, PPC management, and there's photographers, and there's endless amount of things that as e-commerce grows, I just thought about the amount of people I hire a year to work on listings and to do all sorts of different things. Mm-hmm. So that is what I'm speaking about. I'm Branded by Women, about finding what it is that you're good at, and seeing if you can turn that into money-making machine, I'd say. So yeah, that's my story. And that's what I'm talking about on Branded by Women.
No, that's awesome. And like two things you said that I kind of want to circle back to. One of them, not really kind of being about Branded by Women, but kind of about being women in the spotlight or in the space. Because one thing you mentioned was you got trolled a lot about your looks, especially being in the makeup industry. And I'm always curious, and at least I find that women in general, when they're in those high power situations, a lot of the time their value of being strong, independent, smart, all that stuff almost goes to the wayside because people are so focused on their looks. And I don't think that happens, and Brendan, I would love your opinion about that, but I don't feel like that happens so much with men. And I just have found that to be kind of a consistent thing throughout, just my career and other people's careers. It just seems like such a hyper focus that has nothing to do with, what you're actually doing.
Yeah, 100%. That's funny that you said that. I can't think of a time when I've ever thought about my appearance. Like, I make YouTube videos, not like Sharon, but like we'll make YouTube videos as demos for rebid. And I mean, I'd like to look like okay in them, but I'm never like, if I don't look good, people are going to say negative stuff about me. It just isn't a consideration. And yeah, definitely as a, female in business, it shouldn't be that way, but for sure, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Jana, what do you think about that, Jana?
Well, I think it's I think it's because women are in the beauty industry, like not guys that much. So of course it depends on, looks are kind of more important for like women, and this is what people will look at, and people will look at you because you're pretty, like at the first, and they'll be just like, oh, look at this ugly, look at this ugly person, but she's smart, And then like when you're pretty, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are smart. And then people get surprised. We're just like, well, she knows actually how to talk, or, something like that. But I think it's been like that, like forever, since like Cleopatra came out with like the, like beauty products and stuff. Like women have been like a subject to like, how do I make myself pretty, or like, better makeup, like how do I make myself pretty, or with the help of makeup or like plastic surgery or any other things. While as like guys are not subject to that, but guys just kind of grow beard, and I guess like that's about it. That's their makeup. And it's just like this is like the topic that it's been around forever, I think. And it's I think it's quite, I would not say normal, but I would say that this is how you get judged, like unfortunately by your looks.
Right.
Yeah. And I think though it is kind of like a double-edged sword, because like there's also something to be said about, the e-commerce industry is more male, or I guess business in general, but e-commerce industry I think is mostly young guys, right? Like my age. And I think if I was to make a video talking about, let's say, pay-per-click, and then one of you guys and we're sharing the same value content, I think most people in the industry, most guys would say, I'll watch one of your videos versus mine, right? So like, I think it can attract views too. Like, so it goes both ways. Right?
I don't know. I have difficulty with the subject sometimes, but initially I didn't want to do the YouTube when it came to makeup because it's about your looks, right? Yeah. That's what I didn't, because the amount of, first of all, you're mostly dealing with little girls, like 12-year-olds, 16, 17 max, it's most of the time. And unfortunately, in today's world, that age group, like kids are dickheads. They're such bullies to each other. And also,
I know kids are the worst. I swear.
I'm a mom.
Like,
yeah, I'm just saying.
So
McLean, I can see your face. Like, I'm a mom, yeah, and you know,
Well, I
kids.
do.
What
I'm
Jana,
an asshole all the time. So don't
like,
worry.
Jana just said it perfectly. Like, kids these days are mean, and especially, unfortunately, today we're in a time where, you know, and I may sound like a hypocrite now because, you know, my makeup and stuff is important to me, but if you don't look like Kim Kardashian or whatever, you know, then there's a lot of bullying that's going on in that sort of age group. And I wasn't as tough as I am today when I was 23, 24, 25, which is when I was really, you know, looking into getting into that. It wasn't just that. I had a dream to have my own makeup line, etc. Today, you know, I have my own beauty brands, but nothing to do with like cosmetics at all.
And this
and
is
yeah,
actually a really, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were.
no, I'm done. That was it.
No, I was just wanted to say that this is like a really nice intro to like what my topic is, like on Branded by Women, about, you know, like, you know, how people struggle with like, you know, bullying and stuff like that. And actually, like, my topic is, why is talking about mental health still such a taboo? And why is that a big problem for all of us? And I'm really interested to see how people react to my presentation, because this is like, I always have like a work related topic. And also, as Sharon, as you said, like Danny, he's like, no, you're not gonna talk about work or anything, like you're gonna talk about like, you know, mental health. And I've heard you talk, I've talked about this once on his seller session, and he really liked it. And it was like, would you be comfortable in doing that, like, you know, for like presentation? And I'm like, of course not. I would not be comfortable with it. It's like, good, then you should do it, you know. And so, you know, and I'm like really curious and super nervous to see how people respond to my presentation, because this is something I've never, you know, shared online. I'm not comfortable with like any YouTube videos, any like you know, sharing like problems. I'm not comfortable with any of it. It's like way outside of my comfort zone. And but I decided to, you know, accept the challenge, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna make this presentation. And I actually, like, in this presentation, I have like a couple of like 4 or 5 different samples of people, like how people react and how people are and why are people like that. And I'm pretty much sure that a lot of people will get upset because they will recognize themselves. And this is just kind of my point of view. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is like 100%, you know, this is how things are in the world, but this is how I see those. And I just hope that I could inspire people to take some action today and to change the way, like, to change their lives in a way that they're not afraid of so many things. Because I think a lot of people out there are like driven by fear, and that is the biggest enemy and the biggest problem of like modern world as well. And also, like, I really don't like that stigma saying like, you know, your mental health, like you're a sick person, because a lot of people, I mean, I'm not talking about some like mental disorders like schizophrenia and other problems. I'm talking about anxiety and, you know, maybe some other fears that you have of this or other reasons, right? And then why is this considered as sickness? Because every third or every fourth person today is now struggling with that. Like, I don't think I'm sick. I don't think I'm like, you know, I should be put away like in a hospital or something. And I just think it's completely normal, and that's just a part of your personality. For instance, like, you know, I think it's more often than how many people have actually like blue eyes out there, you know. And then this is like a part of your personality, who you are. It's something that's part of like humanity in 21st century, and that people should not stigmatize it in the way that like, oh my god, like you have anxiety attacks, or you cry alone in the dark. And, you know, it's like, it's absolutely normal, I think, what's going on today with, you know, all of us. But people somehow still don't understand that it's important to talk about it. And you probably don't know how many of your friends are struggling with these problems, because they would not talk about it, and you wouldn't even know what they're struggling with. But it's not actually big of a deal to talk about it. And after I was done with my presentation, I was like, you know, like, I hope I did a good job, because I felt relieved, and I felt like I had like a therapy session, like just doing my presentation.
Well, and just to let everyone know, all the viewers who aren't too familiar with the setup of Branded by Women. So the kickoff day is the 22nd, and the hosts are Athena Savari, Elizabeth Hamilton, and Michelle Benton. And then on the 24th
Isabella Hamilton.
Did I do that again? What
You did it again. You said Elizabeth.
Yeah, oh my God. Seriously, I'm fired. I did it again. Unbelievable. I don't know why. Sorry. Isabella Hamilton, who I love to death and is a good friend of mine. And the fact that I keep messing up her name, it just must be a glitch in my brain. But anyway, on the 24th is mindset. The 25th is marketing, and the 26th is mastery. And one of the days, which is mindset, which I believe, Jana, you're speaking at. I don't think
Yes.
you were, right?
I think I'm in whatever's on the second day.
Marketing.
Maybe. I think I'm on marketing.
Okay. But on the show we had yesterday, we had Cassandra, Kim Ford, and Destiny. And they're all on the mindset day. And so it was really interesting because one of the things they said, which we were making a joke about, is, well, Danny wouldn't let us talk about the topics we wanted to.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Everyone was like, well, we want to talk about stuff we're comfortable with. And Dan's like, no, sorry, you're doing this one instead. So it'll be really interesting and I think inspiring and cool that people are stepping outside of their comfort zone to talk about stuff that is really controversial and not something a lot of people want to talk about. So Jana, I give you a lot of props for being able to do that and to speak about something that a lot of people deal with, but they deal with it in the safety of their home. They don't actually like feel comfortable talking to people because then they're going to be that person that no one trusts or respects or,
Right.
do their job right because they have these conflictions. So I
also sent my presentation to my therapist. I mean, I've seen a therapist for a couple of years, and I mean, that's why I can talk about it, because it helped me improve and change my life for better. And she was also very interested to hear, and she was really happy with what I've done. And like, if she approved of that, I'm like, okay, then I'm not gonna say, it's not like bullshit, it makes sense, hopefully.
right.
So yeah. And by the way, Sharon, you're on third day mastery.
I just checked now. I'm on the third day. That's right. I knew I was on the third day. I was checking you and you passed the test, Jana. Well done.
We're both on the third day, so that's cool.
Yeah, we're on the third day. Jana's on the first day and we're both on the third day.
Yes.
Now, have you guys gotten a chance to look at the lineup, and are there any specific other speeches that you're excited to see?
Oh, wow. I'm always excited to see
really...
Megla.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like last year, Megla was like one of my favorite presentations. I mean, that was just, really an amazing story, like just what life is and what life does to you and how you strive. And I don't know, I was just really deeply moved by her presentation.
Yeah,
and I think our topic this year is when the going gets tough, the tough keep going. So I think that's a mindset day, which is also really inspiring, that again these women can come out and talk about their journey, because at the end of the day, a lot of these people watching it, obviously there's going to be some experts in the field and, Amazon sellers and all that. But you also have a lot of women that want to start their journey or that are struggling to get to where they want to be. And so I think it's great that we're broaching a bunch of topics that, that can help inspire and help a lot of women across the board. So That's
I
exciting.
really like your topic, McLean, about humor and boldness, and because you are such a funny gal, and I really want to see your presentation. And this is your first presentation ever, right?
Well, yeah, with regards to something like this, yeah. So
Yeah, cool.
we'll see how I do. Hopefully I don't mess up any names.
Don't be worried, it's the biggest event ever for you, McLean.
It'll be interesting how I compare to everyone else, but because I have a lot of very skillful, high quality speakers that I'm amongst, so it'll be exciting. I'm actually really excited about it. And by the way, Sharon, on Clubhouse the other day, I loved that you said that I was one of the funnier people in the field. Like, you have no idea how much that meant to me.
Really are. The industry lacks, it lacks a lot of humor. Everyone takes everything. Sometimes I'm guilty of it too, but I have a very specific sense of humor that makes a lot of sense in Hebrew, because I've been living in Israel for the last 10 years of my life. So it makes a lot of sense in Hebrew, and then you translate it into English and it's not that funny, like for me. But yeah, you and I have a similar, I think, sense of humor, and I also swear a lot, and I think you do as well. It's just it's just so, it's like therapy for me to swear.
It's cathartic. You just feel better afterward.
Yeah, but I also just wanted to congratulate Jana for having the guts to speak about this subject that she's speaking about, because I went to a therapist, I think, for 3 years of my life. Never, ever said this publicly. Look, you're getting so much out of me in this podcast today. I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but and it's the type of things that sometimes people fear that if you talk about. I actually remember Jana on. I don't remember that many things on Danny's, but I do remember Jana in the middle of COVID, after being alone in her house, speaking on, is it that specific podcast, Jana, that Danny, because of that, he asked you to? I remember that because my heart went out to her, and I wanted to fly wherever she was and be for the next month with her, because I think you were going through, I could tell. I do remember you were on that one. So just well done. I just wanted to say, because it's, a lot of people secretly are going through, I've got someone very close to me who's, suffering from depression. And it's something that I'd never really speak about online. And it's so tough for people suffering of anxiety, depression. And the thing is, so many people suffer from anxiety and depression, and not just that. I can't think of anything else right this minute. Those are the two that are stuck in my head. But, and it's not spoken about enough. And a lot of these people are running also successful businesses, and putting on a smile every day and not pretending, but it's not a pretending. It's going on in life, but inside dealing with shit, So just well done to Jana for having the ball to speak about it. And on the totally other side of it, McLean, good on you for bringing light into this and speaking about humor. I don't think there's ever been a person speaking about humor that I know about in the industry. So
yeah, me neither. And I also have to agree with Sharon. Like, McLean, you are absolutely hilarious, and I love reading your posts. There, anything you freaking comment, like, I read all of it, and just it.
It's I read all of it and I get it.
Yes, I get it. Yeah.
A lot of people don't get it.
Well, and it takes very sarcastic and almost a dark humor to understand a lot of it. So
I know, but that's the best humor.
You get it.
Best humor. And also, humor, like FYI, because we are sort of around Amazon, humor products do really well on Amazon as well. Like an FYI. So yeah, humor, we all need a little bit of humor. I think, McLean, it's time to quit whatever you're doing, go become a comedian like you always wanted to be.
I was just about to say that. Like, what are you doing in Amazon space? Like, seriously.
You suck at that, so just become a comedian.
No, hell no, but you should become a comedian specifically for Amazon sellers.
People. You know what? Maybe I could be the therapist for all of the people that are famous in the Amazon community, and I will just regale them with my humor, and then they'll forget about their anxiety and depression. That'll be
that could work. You could turn that into a business. You can watch my presentation and see how you can turn that into another business.
Exactly. I love this brainstorming session. I wasn't expecting you to go this way, but I love it. Brandon, I want to give you, I feel like we're like kind of like yesterday, all the girls are kind of, you know, like not gossiping, but chit-chatting over you. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions, or, you know, if there's anything you're interested in Branded by Women, what's about, just now's your opportunity.
Yeah, so I mean, we briefly talked about it, and I still feel like don't totally get it, but so it's like, I don't know, maybe you could tell me more about it, or tell, I guess, the audience more about it. So it's like, beyond just strategies for growth in e-commerce, right? It's like a holistic view of you know, life and building a business while also being a mother and a wife, and you know, that sort of stuff, right?
A female in general in the business world,
Mhm.
and in general, you know, about female empowerment. It's yeah, it's something that I didn't realize that was so important until I was actually anti-branded by women last year, because I didn't think that women need their own conference, because I said, why do we need our own conference? And it was just simply because of the way that I have been brought up. I'm very blessed to have come up with a father who's, you know, an entrepreneur, who taught me that I could do anything from a very young age. And I never felt different from any men, right? Like I could be on stage or be next to men and they'll all be men, and I'd be the only woman, or there'd only be two women, and I wouldn't think they're better than me or anything like that. So I was like, why do we need this? And I spoke anyway. And after Branded by Women, I had so many messages. So many women had reached out to me, and not just the mother card. Like it wasn't just because I'm a mom. It was a lot of just seeing a woman on, you know, speaking about this. And I was like, holy shit, like female empowerment's important. I didn't even notice, you know, I didn't even realize that by being on YouTube or by speaking about these things or being in the place where most of the time they're just seeing men, and I didn't notice it because it wasn't something to me specifically that stood out to me. And I didn't notice how important it is. And today, you know, I hope that in a couple of years from now, we won't need female specifically conferences, because it'll be a thing that female, you know, are kicking ass. Because there's a lot of females in the industry that maybe people just don't realize, you know, or there's a lot of females behind really big businesses in the industry that people don't know about. So I think that today I understand the importance of Branded by Women that I did not understand it before Branded by Women last year.
Well, and I think part of that comes from you. I mean, for what I know of you and what I respect about you is you're an incredibly strong, independent person that is like, doesn't take shit from anyone, essentially. And I think that's amazing. And in a lot of ways, I feel the same way, whereas I'm like a guy, girl, whatever. But I would argue that the conference isn't necessarily about us proving what we've done and accomplished, but it's more about women that do feel kind of intimidated by men or don't feel like they can relate to men. And it gives them, you know, a platform in which they can feel more comfortable and they can relate more, you know, because everyone's story is different. And, you know, whether you are a strong, really independent and feisty female, or, you know, you're shy and you do feel like a lot of the time men can overtake conversations, whether it's your fault or not. I'm not blaming anyone, but I think it's more about making women feel like they have a comfort space so they can like relate and actually get value out of seeing women that, you know, have come so far.
Yeah. Do you guys feel, so like, I guess all of you guys at different points have worked in different industries. Like it's my sense, and it's hard for me to gauge, right, being male, but like, it's my sense that e-commerce is a little different, right? So like, if you're a female working in the Texas oil industry, I have to imagine that experience is a little different than being a female, you know, with an e-commerce business or an e-commerce service business. Like, I just feel like this industry is a little different. Like, I think the experience can vary maybe based on where you are and what industry you're in.
I think Jana would probably answer that quite well, because Jana's worked in different types of industries as well. How did you feel outside of e-commerce, Jana?
Well, I only worked in e-commerce. I haven't worked because that was my first job. I was 20, I think, and I worked there for 8 years. I mean, I've gone through like different like branches of e-commerce. Like for instance, like I was sent to Russia to open a company's branch, and they just told me like go and just open everything, like hire people, train people, like arrange everything. And then I went to Russia, and like men don't shake hands with women over there. Like they just gonna nod like their heads. And I was just like, what is this? Being sent there as like a company representative, I was totally not, kind of, respected because I was a woman. So that was horrible. But then I was just like, well, I don't freaking care. Like I'm as competent as these men here are. And then if they say like you have to drink vodka and eat pickles, that's what I'm gonna do, because I mean I freaking hate vodka ever since high school. But like you have to do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna show you that I'm like as good as you guys are and whatever, like smart and whatever not. But I think it's like you have to fight for yourself, like, and you cannot let anybody put you down and tell you that you are not good enough or not worthy enough. And like it all comes like from your head basically. So you have to, gotta love yourself and be like, okay, I'm capable of doing this. And then it doesn't really matter where you go, because you would not have that mindset of being like, oh my God, they surely think I'm stupid, because you think you're stupid. Right. So as soon as like you change your mindset and you're like, well, I'm good enough, or like maybe I'm even better than you are, that's how, when people gonna accept you and see you differently, no matter like how blonde, pretty, ugly, or feminine you are. That's just what I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what, to circle back to the whole mental depression and anxiety and whatever, manic stages, whatever you're going through, I think that how you interpret the way, whether it's a man or woman, how you interpret the way people treat you is a lot about just how you see yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And so like, if you already have negative, a feedback loop where you're, thinking like, I'm nothing, I'm worthless, like then the opinion of other people is gonna matter even more to you. And so
absolutely, yeah. And also like if you're afraid that somebody's gonna bully you, like, oh my God, they're gonna bully me, and you just kind of give out that vibe, then people will bully you. It's not, I mean, it doesn't happen that like people will bully you just because you give the vibe. Sometimes it really happens without you being really like unconsciously involved in that. But I think a lot of times, like when you project, like we're like, oh my God, this is what's gonna happen, or like they're gonna bully me or make fun of me, or not, I'm just waiting for this to happen. That is exactly what's gonna happen to you, because whatever you're projecting, people around you, they can smell it. It's like animals, animals, like dogs like smell fear or whatever, like people smell like when you are not that confident, like how, I mean, a lot of cults approach you because they know they can break you, and they know that you are like not confident, they have problem with yourself, like, and people can find this and they can use that against you. So that's like something that people should really work more on, and not on like being pretty and like doing other things like nice clothes. And I mean, I buy nice clothes myself. This is where most of my money goes to, right? But like they should also like focus on their well-beings and knowing who they are, and just projecting their true selves and not projecting fear. And that's it, because they haven't accepted themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's why the mindset day is so important. And I think
definitely
a lot out of that, because at the end of the day, you can learn all the skills you need to like, run a business, or, implement certain strategies, or hire people, or scale. But if you don't have that foundation of confidence and comfort within yourself, like the rest of it kind of falls to the wayside, or you can't be present enough to make all of your dreams come true. So it's really important to, work on yourself, as,
I think that I was very bullied at and I don't know what it's called in America. In New Zealand, it's called intermediate. It's like after primary school. It's like the age of 10, 11, 12.
Middle school.
What? Middle school. So I was really, really, really bullied in middle school. My natural hair color is dark brown, and I had a monobrow, right? So one eyebrow. And I was a skater girl, like a hardcore skater girl. And I was like severely bullied. And it's a very long story, but anyway, my dad pulled me out of school and put me in a private school. And I'm Jewish, and the only private school in our area was a Christian school. And my parents put me in that school, and it was the best school in the world. I loved it. It was like the best decision my parents had ever made for me. And I had like a switch where I got out of like the whole skater boy thing, and I did start to become.
I did skateboard when I was in high school as well.
No.
I loved it.
Did you have a
rollerblades and skateboards? No, I didn't have a unibrow. No, I'm sorry.
No, mine fell off when I was skateboarding.
Well, I think that, it just wasn't the cool thing. Like all the girls at school would wear like skirts, and I would wear the pants. Like I would wear baggy pants. I was I was a totally different person basically. And anyway, I think that I was able to start YouTube at 2019 because I had gone through, how I said originally when I was in my, 23, 24, 25-ish stage, I wasn't necessarily ready to take on trolling, which would happen no matter what. Like trolling, the minute you put yourself out to the world, there's going to be trolls, no matter what. No matter how pretty, how, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen to anyone. And because I think that I went through, Jana said she's been with her psychologist for a few years. I went to my psychologist, who was actually my mom's, what do you call a psychologist in school? There's always like a psychologist in
Counselor?
Yeah,
Counselor,
yeah, counselor in her college, which is really kind of weird. But anyway, I went to her, and she also ended up being my marriage counselor for 3.5 years. And I had a lot to work on myself, like a lot. And I think I was able to start YouTube at a later stage because I had worked on myself. But I think the most work I've ever done on myself was last year, was in 2020. Because when I came into this industry, like when I put myself out there, into the industry, I was pouring out a lot of negativity. Like, and when I say negativity, it's calling out people and being the person that today I just can't stand people like that. And I always felt that, and it could be a female thing. I don't know because I'm a female, I don't know where it came from, but I always felt that I had to prove myself, and it was when I met Danny, not kissing Danny's ass, but it's just, Danny knows this. It's Kian Golzari, and also Danny. They're the two that really helped me to work on this. I sort of started to be more comfortable in my own skin and in the industry, and found a place where I can just get along with everyone, as long as you're not a dick. If you're a dick, I'm not going to get along with you. But if you're a nice person, I'll get along with you. And yeah, but going back to your original question, Brendan, when I moved to Israel, my husband was my boss. We weren't married yet. We weren't even together yet. And he owned a restaurant in Tel Aviv. And he was my boss for 3 years before we started going out, just so like it's clear. It's not, anyway, long story short, if I look at that time when I was managing the restaurant, and when I look at that time and I think about like even customers, customers can complain and be annoying sometimes, and seeing the difference between when they'd speak to me, when I look like, pretty little blonde who's quiet and etc., until I start opening my mouth and speak. And I look at how customers would approach me and attack me, basically, not physically, but, go crazy at me, compared to how they'd speak to my husband, when no one would dare speak to my husband the way that they would speak to me. And in the beginning, my husband would be very defensive over me. And at some stage I was like, I can handle it. The minute I open my mouth, you see they take a step back because they allow themselves to talk that way. And most of them are also older men, right? Like the ways that like 50, 60-year-old men would approach me. I was like 23, maybe at the 22, 23 at the time. So I do think that there is a difference in other industries compared to our industry possibly today. But I do think that there's also, I don't have another word for it apart from assholes. There's also assholes in this industry as well, you know, that because you're a woman specifically, they'll allow themselves to be, bullies. I don't have another word for it. I think they exist everywhere. And I just hope that in the industry, there's, you know, that it'll be more 50-50 rather than 20% women and like 80% men in our industry in e-commerce. That was my story.
I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but I know you have a call coming up. Well, with all that being said, I just want all the viewers to know this conference is not a man bashing, you know, like,
Totally not. We love men.
Yeah, like hate on men because we all work with them, and my greatest mentors are men, and you know, Brendan over here, I can't talk shit about him. So but anyway, it's a great event. Kickoff show starts the 22nd. I know I already mentioned this, but I'm just going to repeat it. The actual shows are the 24th, 25th, and 26th of February. You can get free passes, which I'll put the link in this at the bottom of this video when I publish it. And you also can upgrade to an all access pass, which gives you tons of goodies, including content from all of last year, which is really exciting because I know last year's event was really great. So you don't want to miss out on that. Does anyone else have anything else you want to add about Branded by Women, or, you know, anything about yourselves?
I think that it's pretty cool that that Danny's giving away from last year's as well. That's cool. Last year I spoke about PPC, which is my comfort zone. Jana, you were on last year too, right?
Yeah, I was talking about international expansion, which I'm super comfortable with. So this year is going to be something.
Watch that. You should also watch what Jana and I spoke about last year as well.
Yeah, in case you want to see them in their comfort zone as opposed to talking about some.
Yeah, and then compare.
Yeah. But no, I think this content will be great. And I do think it's cool that Danny pushed it in that direction where he really wanted to make it about a personal journey and, you know, growth within yourself, because it's important to talk about, and not enough people in this industry talk about that. So I'm excited. I hope everyone that does sign up is excited as well. And thank you everyone for being here. I know you guys are all busy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. And yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for having us.
No worries.
Thank you so much for having us today. It was a true pleasure. And I hope to see you in person very soon, right?
Yes, Miami, baby.
It's Miami, bitch. Yeah, talk to you later. Take care, guys.
Bye.